Welcome back to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. You know, on
I
Gene...
just have to say, dear Lord, bless us in this adventure.
Well, and I love this because, of course, we love going down the road of these really important, deep theme movies, right? We're all about A24s, you know, Saint Maud, the Witch.
Yes, very serious movie making here.
We did Sinners last week, of course.
Sinners is, yes.
And sometimes...
the thing's made $330 million.
Well, good for that movie because it's good, of course.
It's blowing it out for the horror movie.
But it's a nice segue into sometimes you just need a movie like the one we're going to talk about today.
Look at the cover.
1985, Re-Animator. I am hoping that every one of our viewers has already seen Re-Animator. Here's your spoiler warning, but my God, what's wrong with you if you haven't seen Re-Animator? But Gene's here, so let's see what Gene thinks of it. Where are you with Re-Animator?
When we were watching this movie at first, we had problems with the sound. It just turns out our DVD wasn't hooked up right. But at first it starts really slow and they're talking. The movie seems like it's a serious attempt at horror. So, I was expecting something, kind of like Martyrs or something like that. Something along those lines. Or even The Audition, there's a lot of talking at the beginning, but then it turns into something truly horrific in both those cases. But then things start to happen in this movie that you just start to wonder. It's like, are they really serious? Or this is like a horror comedy? You're like, what road is this? Is it serious or horror? And then after a while, it becomes blatantly obvious where this thing is going. And... And my wife and I, we were just like, love this movie, because it's just so funny and just the sheer ridiculousness of it. And the directions and the scene choices. And it's just, oh my Lord, this movie, I got to tell you, there's a lot of nudity in this film. And all the nudity is from one person. Yeah, and for some reason we have to see everything. But but if you're willing to get back by that, then this movie is just great. It's just so funny, and it just makes it happen, and it's funny in surprising ways, which is hard to say for horror because a lot of horror is just the same old stuff over and over and over. But this one actually, was it 82 or
85?
85. It actually it makes it happen. So I kind of don't like this cover because it kind of gives too much away. You can kind of see the mad scientist here. And the first thing that gives it away is this gooey stuff that he uses. It made me think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
right.
But you notice his head's decapitated. But instead of being just a head, he's actually happy, and it's just the inside's kind of cool. I don't know. I like that there's a cast photo here. But anyway, enough of that. But the movie's great. You definitely watch it. It's fun. It's a good time.
Gene, you've just brought great joy and warmth to my heart for saying what you just said, because Re-Animator is one of the great classics of not only 80s horror film, but really it's going to be on the top 100 list of pretty much anyone's list of horror movies you must see. I do want to point out this was the star-making turn for beloved actor Jeffrey Combs playing Dr. Herbert West. He knocks it out of the park. I absolutely love his performance in this movie. Actually, the whole cast does a fine job. But Gene's right.
Yes.
The film goes to over-the-top sequences. One of the things I really love about this movie is because Gene and I talk a lot about studios interfering and, you can't do this one thing. This company... Brian Yuzna was the producer. Empire Pictures was affiliated.
Which you've never heard of.
Well, no. People in the know with horror movies know all about Charles Band and Brian Yuzna and Stuart Gordon and Empire Pictures because they do a lot of this kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
But what they did was they created this film and they were like, this is the film we're doing. We're not even going to submit it for a rating because we know it's going to get an X rating.
It's not rated.
Right?
Right.
And so we're just going to release it. Of course, it was a limited release because, Legion of Decency, we can't be showing unrated movies in our theaters. But it made its money back, and then of course it exploded once it came out on DVD, and it was more accessible.
Cult classic? Yes.
Yes, of course it is.
It is.
And kind of an interesting story as well is they decided to go ahead and create an R-rated cut of this movie, which is actually longer. And so there's a whole bunch of extra scenes they had that they had trimmed out. They threw those back in, got rid of all the gore and all the cool stuff. And so you end up with,
that ruins it.
Right.
The gore makes it what it is.
Yeah, the most readily available version, of course, is the unrated version. But there is a 93-minute R-rated version, and then I think a 106-minute random cut that's also kind of an R-rated version. But you want the 86-minute because, of course, there's your sweet spot once again, that 86-minute range, 82 minutes.
I don't buy with that. But anyway, that's Roger's deal.
We were dealing with a 2-hour and 20-minute movie last week. You can almost get 2 showings of Re-Animator to watch that other one time.
You can watch this twice.
But I love this movie, too, because I think Gene alluded a little bit. Is the movie going to go there? And yes, this movie is. And that's one of the beauties of this film and just how joyful it makes me feel when I watch it.
Yeah, your first clues again is this guy, the doctor, the evil doctor. This gooey stuff, which reminds us of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but also he finds a roommate because he needs to do a place. He needs to have a little pungent lab, where he does his experiments. So he goes and he finds this other doctor friend. They're all at medical students, right? Yeah, get that out. And so his lab turns into being this guy's basement. So just that, like the world's evilest scientist, Re-Animator, of course, is bringing back the dead, right? It all happens in a basement. Right. It's just like, come on. And it's just so funny. And then also the first victim turns out to be a cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the roommate's cat.
The roommate's cat. And it's just funny because he's reanimated, but then the cat, they reanimate and they're evil. It kind of reminds, there's lots of references that makes me think of, my wife and I saw it together, but it makes me think of Pet Cemetery. Because in Pet Cemetery, when you reanimated those guys by going into the cemetery, they always came back evil, and they just did a lot of destruction. So the cat comes back, and the cat attacks this mad scientist. Is on his back, screaming. And as a weapon, what does the guy get out? He gets out a croquet mallet.
Right.
It's just stuff like that. Yeah, it's just.
Well, and I like also where the prelude to that, where Jeffrey Combs, Herbert West, has shoved this dead cat that he probably killed already into the refrigerator, and then they just the roommate and the roommate's girlfriend discovers it, and they're like, well, oh no, the cat was dead, I found the cat dead already. Well,
but his pieces are missing,
right? And he's like well, what did you want me to do, leave you a note, cat dead, more later, stuff like that. And it was, so there's just this, I like the Herbert West character because, of course, as you guys know, I'm into these obsessed scientist movies. Donald Pleasance with mutations. Hey, I'm going to create a plant-human hybrid. Dieter Lasser and Human Centipede. I'm creating a human centipede for some reason. He's kind of along the same lines as those where, yeah, is this really a good idea? Every time you use this reagent, bad things happen because the corpses come back as, like Gene said, evil. Herbert West is going, well, I just need fresher corpses that haven't decayed at all. So, and the practical effects too. So here's another example of CGI and all that, where if you wanted to show a certain thing, you've got to do it practically. So the movie doesn't seem to be as old as it is. It is 40-something years old at this
40.
point. Well, exactly 40, right?
40, yeah.
And it doesn't seem that way because practical effects, right? That's why The Thing is still easily accessible. Practical effects, it doesn't look dated, and characters are reacting to a thing that's actually right in front of them.
Yeah. However, you got to say that when the bone saw is pushed through the guy's chest, I'm sure that's not really happening.
No. You could see how they pulled the effect off.
Yeah, you can see, yeah.
You can tell, but it's really happening on screen. There's no digital compositing going on or anything like that. This movie has, of course, gained this tremendous cult following. Stuart Gordon, the director, went on to do Bride of Re-Animator, which is...
Oh, we did look. Yeah, there's like 7 sequels or something.
Well, the original short story was, of course, H.P. Lovecraft. You're familiar with him.
Yes.
And it was serialized in Weird Tales magazine, I think. So like Lovecraft was getting like $5 or $10 every other week when he would throw another chapter in or whatever. And so the serial was like 6 little episodes, and the first 2 basically were kind of turned into this Re-Animator movie, and then the middle 2 nobody's ever done anything with, and then the last 2 parts were Bride of Re-Animator. This is the one that's really good and really amazing and is the cult classic and is the one you need to see. All of the other sequels are what happens with other sequels, where there's diminishing returns. But Gene's right. It's a lot of horrific things happen in this movie, but it's not horrific like mean-spirited or anything like that. There's this layer of fun and breeziness going on.
Yeah, especially like this guy, he's like the head doctor, administrator of the school. And of course, because his administrator is evil. But he likes he likes the girlfriend of this student's. Yeah, he likes, but she turns out to be the daughter of this other doctor. But anyway, but he confesses while he's alive that he kind of admires her, whatever.
Well, in a super creepy
creepy
right?
way.
This older guy trying to hit on this young girl.
Exactly. But it turns out he becomes dead. His head gets separated from his body. Let's just put it that way. And then this juice is injected into the head and to the torso, and they both become alive. Yeah, but then somehow that woman, she gets captured, and they tie her down to this autopsy table. And the autopsy table has hand and leg restraints for some reason. Yeah, I can't even. I'm going to stop there. You just need to see it.
Well, and this is an example of what we were saying, where is the movie going to go there? And yes, this movie is.
Yes, it does. Yes.
And it's one of the reasons that this is a movie that is just so joyful for horror film fans, because in the 80s especially, we were used to, censorship is rampant. And so right when something good's about to happen, we had to edit the rest of that out.
Right.
But
no, they don't edit
here. It's
nothing.
Nope, we're going all the way. No. And a naked woman on a table and a guy holding his own severed head who is enamored with that woman. What do you think's going to happen? Right?
I'm trying to get the image out of my mind.
Right.
But it's all in fun. I mean, nothing. Yeah, it's just, you walk away from this movie, it's like, oh, that was great. It's cool.
Right. And it is. It's that kind of movie. It's one of, because horror is great because you can have your deadly serious, nothing pleasant is happening kind of horror movies that are good, and then you can have on the other spectrum these kind of horror comedies where horrific things happen, but it's presented in a way that's almost like a Warner Brothers cartoon, right? Where it's not anything that's going to mess you up for life, like something like maybe Audition.
Audition's going to mess you up.
Martyrs or
Martyrs,
something.
Those two movies mess you up. But yeah, this movie, then it also has the classic little cliffhanger ending because the little girl, she gets choked to death. But then the goo pops out, and the idea is that the fresher the corpse, the better your results. Right. So she is very fresh.
You don't see that at any time.
Yeah, they keep trying to find the fresher corpses, but they still turn out bad.
Right. And Gene, did you notice when the main theme of the movie, the soundtrack of the movie, did that harken back to any other movie soundtrack that you've heard before?
I know, again, we had problems with our sound.
Okay, so it's a real riff on Psycho, the theme from Psycho.
With that
done in more of a 80s kind of poppy sort of way. So I really like the music they use in this movie, and it probably will be like, I've heard that before. I've heard that stinger before, and it's from Psycho, or it's a riff kind of on Psycho. But I just think this is another example of a movie where you have people that care, you have people with a vision, and you have no restraints on them to create that vision. And so you just get this really wonderful little film.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally recommend it. Watch it. Yeah, and it's fun. You look up what happened with the actors, and we looked up this female actress, and she turns out she was like this queen of daytime episodic TV.
Mm-hmm.
She did like 300 episodes of like The Guiding Light, 180 episodes as the world turns, something like that.
Yeah, it's Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, and she's still with us, and so yeah.
Well, if you subscribe for reasons I don't know to the Full Moon streaming service, there is a retrospective of Re-Animator, which also has the movie included, which is like an hour and 20-minute interview with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, moderated by Charles Band. And so that could be a thing that you might want to take a look at if you really are into Re-Animator.
The DVD copy has I think that as well.
Yeah, there's on the DVD and this Laserdisc, there's audio commentary. The really important audio commentary at this point, because he is no longer with us, is the Stuart Gordon director commentary on it. So if you want to really dive deep into what's going on with Re-Animator and the themes and all the complicated setups they had to do to make it work, that's definitely worth a watch for sure. Gene, anything more to talk about with Re-Animator?
I just love that they just make things happen, and just the gooey stuff, it just makes magic happen. And once you're making magic happen, anything goes.
Yep. And that's that's a good descriptor for this movie. Anything goes in Re-Animator.
I do have to say, one of my favorite characters in this movie is the nighttime security guard. Well, first of all, they have a security guard with this. He has a big table in the hallway right outside of the morgue.
Right.
Like this thing needs to be guarded for some reason. But he's never there. And then when the guard is there, he's looking at some porn magazine. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah. But it's just funny.
Well, and
it's just really funny.
Once you get infected with this serum, you're apparently pretty strong too.
Right.
That one guy was just hurling people around.
Right. Yep.
Before he got the bone saw rammed through his back.
Yeah. That was the only way to stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that nighttime security guard is just so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then right when there should be security there to maybe call somebody, where is he?
Right.
He's not around.
Well, no, because every time anybody goes into the morgue room, he leaves, right? He's like, it's my break time now, I guess.
That's his break, yeah.
There's people in there, so I'm good. But
those characters are great.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, and all the acting, all of these actors went on to do other roles. Gene mentioned Barbara Crampton, who, of course, was in a number of other horror movies.
Yes.
Jeffrey Combs, of course, is right up there in horror movie stature with somebody like Bruce Campbell. And so, just a win all around.
Yeah. I think that would be fun to have a life like that, where all you've done your whole life is make B horror movies. Well, not even that. Is it fair to even call them B movies? Because what's the difference? Really between a B and A. They're all just fun. Especially this one. It's just fun. It's a great watch. Yeah.
Well, and Empire Pictures, of course, is well known for a slew of B movies. This is one of the times when we're ahead of a B on this one. This is definitely in the A range, and had theaters and society in general not been so afraid of an unrated movie, it would have made significant money at the box office.
It would have blown it out for sure.
It was only released in 100 theaters or so. I did see it here in Alaska when it played at the now defunct Polar Theater.
Is that the one they tore down?
No, it's the school now, the Polaris School.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so, one of just a couple other people in the audience, and everybody left very happy.
Yeah.
But Gene, what should we do next week?
As usual, we don't know.
Okay.
Any ideas?
Well, no, I'm so pleased, Gene, that you liked this movie, because I always get concerned when I'm showing Gene a movie that doesn't have any real deep themes going on. There's nothing really important. Here. It's just kind of a bloodbath and craziness. So we will definitely do something next week, but I am going into this week very happy that Gene enjoyed Re-Animator.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't get the Laserdisc if it's even available, but Here's the back.
Oh, they
highlight of the goose. You have to love it.
Yeah, they probably have these Laserdiscs on eBay for like $100 or whatever, probably. But
yeah. Can you even buy it? I'm sure you can get a player somewhere.
You'd probably have to get it off of eBay at this point,
right?
they're
they're not making them anymore.
No. That's old technology. That's like trying to get a Betamax. Right?
Yeah, Betamax.
So, but anyway, we will catch you next week. See Re-Animator if you've never seen it.
Yeah, watch it.
And we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.